Okay.
One, two, three, four, five, five, four, three, two, one.
Ten seconds. I'll make it. I know I will. Well, thank you so much for joining us on this Tuesday, August 11th. After GMS is where it's at, right, guys? I'm Tracy McCain back in the studio. Stacey Spivey, Megan Malaris, and Taran Kirksey are all working from home. And Ed Matthews has his fingers on the phone as he'll be busily typing away, joining us in our conversations in just a little bit. But we'll get started with the forecast. And Taran, that's all you, buddy.
All right, let's go ahead and get to it. Basically, we just have more typical summertime weather on the way, heat, humidity, and the chance of pop-up showers and storms from time to time. And as we saw yesterday, the storms that do develop could produce some locally heavy rainfall. Today, the chance of rain at your house right around 30%. So we expect the storms to be very isolated in nature. And then we'll see the coverage of pop-up showers and storms a little bit more enhanced for the rest of the week into the weekend, with the rain chance going up 50 to 60%. High temperatures should stay in the mid to upper 80s for most of us over the next week or so, but a few spots, especially today and tomorrow, may briefly touch the 90-degree mark. That's a quick look at your 7-day forecast.
All right, you always sum it up so nicely for us, Taran. Hot. It's just amazing what you can do with that forecast. All right, let's get to our first conversation. We're talking about Sunday's earthquake in Sparta. A lot of you felt it from about 80 miles away from Greensboro. Others didn't feel a thing. So why is that? Let's take a closer look. Dr. Kenneth Taylor says where you live factors into whether you would feel an earthquake, even if you're hundreds of miles away. The kind of soil and rock underground also plays a role, as well as the size of the earthquake's surface waves. Governor Roy Cooper, by the way, will head to Sparta today to survey the damage, and we're told at least 100 buildings are damaged there. So as we jump into our conversation this morning, I'm going to turn to our meteorologist first, because you know a little bit about this science. Taran, the ground shook in some places, others it didn't. Even aftershocks were felt in some counties. I didn't feel a thing.
Yeah, it is one of those situations where as the energy starts to spread out away from the epicenter, it's going to dissipate, and it's going to dissipate in different ways. You do have several different types of waves that come through hurricane, primary, secondary, and then there are a couple other ones as well. But the only time that you're going to see energy not dissipate or change the way that it affects something is if it's passing through a vacuum. Other than that, any type of medium that it passes through, it's going to change. Even sunlight changes as it passes through Earth's atmosphere. The way that you see it, sometimes in the morning and then in the evening when the angle is a little bit smaller and it's passing through more of the atmosphere, the way the colors get scattered out in different ways, and you see the oranges and the reds. Well, with the earthquakes, as the energy is passing through different types of rock, it might shake the rock more, it might not move through it as efficiently. And in some cases, if you have certain types of soil that the energy wave can pass through easily, it's going to affect the way that the people are sitting on top of that soil feel the earthquake or lack thereof, depending on the certain type of soil. I hope that makes sense. But basically, the medium that the energy is passing through will have an impact on how much the energy dissipates and how much it causes, I guess, shaking at the surface. And in this case, the not only was it a fairly strong earthquake by North Carolina standards, that allowed it to be felt over a wide area. Also, as it started passing through different types of rock and soil and started to dissipate, the amount of people that could feel it as you go to the eastern part of the state started to decrease just a bit. It's certainly really interesting. I'm no expert on geology or anything like that, but just a couple of the classes that I've taken on the earth science, I always was interested in how the energy is released from earthquakes, and it certainly is interesting. And we actually got a chance to feel that firsthand here in North Carolina just a couple of days ago.
Well, I will say this, Taran, you may not be an expert, but I always feel smarter when I listen to you explain things, and Ed, same with you. So, you were working on Sunday morning, Ed Matthews. Did you feel anything in the weather garden?
Oh, yes, I did. I think that shock wave had a pretty clear path right to the weather garden.
Oh, no.
And, in school, I stuck with the atmosphere and studied very little about, earthquakes and things like that. But this just fascinates me. First of all, they're very rare. They're very infrequent. Strongest earthquake that we've had in over 100 years. But it's the first one I felt in my life, and I don't really care to feel another one. I've had the joy, I've had the thrill. It's been a big rush. Let's move on.
I remember feeling one here at the station several years ago. Had to be like maybe 2009, 2010, and it was the first one I've ever felt. And I remember looking at Eric Chilton and be like, what happened? And he's just like, I think we just had an earthquake. I'm like, whatever. And sure enough, we did, but then it was like a 3-point something, which we thought was big. And this was a 5.1, which obviously was even larger. So Stacy, you also were at work Sunday. I know that tweets were coming in left and right. So you must have felt it too, if Ed did.
Yeah, I don't think I felt it as strongly as he did. I definitely heard it though, because the door that's back behind the studio rattled, and then I could hear something rattling above me, and I didn't know what it was. And I honestly at first thought that Ed was walking into the studio from that back door, because usually if you walk through it, it makes a noise. And then he never came into the studio, so I was like, what's happening? And then my producer came out, or one of our producers, and said that it was an earthquake, but the people that were in the control room, which is in another room from the studio, didn't feel or hear a thing. So crazy how one person can and another person can't. Actually, somebody, Amanda, commented on our Facebook stream and said, my friend and her family were all in the same room. Her husband and daughter felt it, but she didn't feel a thing. So crazy.
Yeah, I was just about to read that. It's amazing that people could be in the same room. Some people could feel something, some people couldn't. But I thought Kay Slaughter's comment about earthquake is now covered on her 2020 bingo card. I think that's hilarious because what is not covered on the 2020 year calendar, right? We've had everything from dust storms, as we mentioned earlier. Earthquakes are now checked off, a hurricane or two. Maybe not specific to North Carolina, but they certainly have happened. We're on what, J now, Taran? I don't even know where we are on the.
Oh, yes, J.
Josephine.
Josephine. Ha.
Yeah.
There you go.
I'm still
We'll
in the
be
know.
the next one, yeah.
All right. So Meg, did you feel or experience anything where you are?
Yeah. We are in Northwest Greensboro, not far from the airport, and I was up feeding my son around the time, and I actually was watching the Good Morning Show when Ed and Stacy were on the air, and I heard what sounded like rocks being thrown at our master bedroom window, and my husband turned to me and said, I think we just had an earthquake. Lo and behold, that's what happened. And Ed later texted me and explained some of the information behind it and the Brevard fault that caused this and a lot of the science behind it, which I thought was really interesting. But I have a question for Taran. Why is it so difficult to forecast earthquakes? Is there no technology that would give us an indication that something like this could be happening deep within the earth?
Well, they're still trying to study exactly how you can forecast it. A lot of times you do have pre-shocks and then you have aftershocks, right? And so you'll have these small earthquakes, but the question becomes, okay, is the 2.7 the main earthquake and then it's going to go back down from there, or is it going to keep going up? You know, there was some question to me, you know, when we had the 5.1, it's like, well, is this pre-shock or is this the main earthquake? Could we see a stronger one? But now that we've seen it kind of stepping back down, obviously that has changed. But it's just one of those things that is still not fully understood. You know, there's a lot of different aspects of science, including, you know, meteorology and oceanography, and also, you know, when it comes to earthquakes as well, where we know a lot, but there's still way more to learn. So they are still studying that, but you can kind of see things stepping up, but you don't know exactly when all that pressure that's building up is going to finally fully release. And, you know, this is one of those things that definitely was not expected, because again, we don't really have earthquakes that strong in North Carolina all that often. In fact, this one will likely be the strongest one that any of us will probably see in our lifetimes, at least in North Carolina. Hopefully we won't see any stronger ones than that. You know, you never can say never with Mother Nature, but we'll have to kind of just wait and see how things go.
I think we've learned that this year for sure. All right, Megan, why don't you get us started with our morning headlines?
All right, let's get started with those. And we were talking about another weather phenomenon that happened more recently. The Triad had a lot of flooding last night. Storms swept through parts of Forsyth and Guilford counties. This is video from First Street in downtown Winston-Salem. The city fire department deployed its water rescue team after a high water situation reached a driver's car door. Cleanup continues at the North Carolina coast 1 week after Hurricane Isaias made landfall at Ocean Isle. House Speaker Tim Moore tweeted pictures of the damage in Southport and Ocean Isle Beach. He toured the area in a helicopter with 2 other state house representatives. Winds whipped up to 85 miles per hour at Ocean Isle, and the storm surge reached between 3 and 5 feet. The result, boats bunched up on docks, homes, and streets with a lot of damage.
The Winston-Salem Forsyth County School Board meets tonight to finalize a safe back-to-school plan with less than a week until classes begin. And that's where our Candace Red is picking up our coverage today.
Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools is preparing for at least 9 weeks of remote learning. And we know that the first day of school for students is Monday, August 17th, but teachers return to school today, when nearly 20% of teachers say they're either fearful of or need special accommodations to return to the classroom. Well, that's all according to a recent Winston-Salem Forsyth County Schools survey. The school district is focused on ensuring teachers can get the job done in a safe and healthy environment. Well, teachers are being equipped with computers, tablets, internet, and access to technical support. Well, educators will also be participating in ongoing training, virtual staff meetings, finalizing schedules, and preparing for open house this week. Well, Kevin Sherrill is the assistant superintendent for technology at the school district, and he says teachers will most likely face some sort of tech problem this school year.
They elect to come into their classroom to deliver instruction, we're going to support them that way. So they do have that option if they have some connectivity issues at home, or if they just feel more comfortable delivering instruction from their classroom, then that option is available, and principals are working with their staff to kind of gauge, you know, how many people are in the building and how many would elect to work from the classroom.
Again, the school board will meet tonight to discuss more on a safe return to school for both teachers and students. But to learn more on that, all you have to do is visit our website. That's WFMYnews2.com.
Getting to some other local headlines right now. This week, the city of Lexington will announce the next steps in relocating a Confederate monument. Last month, the city council voted on a resolution to relocate the statue because of what the city called public safety concerns. The statue is right now located on county property, so county commissioners need to vote on it, but that's been put off for a few weeks now. Mayor Newell Clark will hold a news conference this Thursday morning at 10. Of course, we'll keep you updated. A Triad University is calling off fall sports this year. Elon University is postponing sports including football, soccer, and cross country. The university says fall sports might happen this spring, but that of course will depend on the NCAA and Elon's conference. All right, we'll jump into our second conversation and we're going back to school. Stacy, that begins Monday for most kids in our area.
Yeah, it's so crazy that it's already that time of year to head back to school, but most students are going to start off the school year through virtual learning, doing it remotely. So we want to know how you are getting ready for the school year. Parents, this is for you. A recent report says that desks are hard to find in stores right now because so many people are buying them for home learning. And we want to know, are you setting up a certain classroom space at home? Are you picking out new school clothes, or maybe nothing's really changing? It's just business as usual, but at home. You can let us know by leaving a comment on your live stream. I've already noticed a lot of my teacher friends are getting ready for the school year back home in Arkansas, and things are pretty much normal for them. I know that's a big difference for us here, but they are going back into the classroom, and I think the biggest change for them is just making sure that they have a face mask on and making sure that they keep all surfaces cleaned.
Sounds like this would be a great conversation for people to weigh in online. So if you monitor the comments, Stacy, let us know if anyone says anything. You know, I have friends who are teachers. They haven't mentioned anything specific except for the fact that they had to go into the classroom months ago and get everything out that they had in their classrooms, perhaps because the district felt that they weren't going to be back in time for the start of school, but haven't heard anything as of recent. I think a lot of my teacher friends want to keep their private thoughts private, and I understand that. I do work in the media. All right, so does anybody else want to weigh in? I don't know where to go with this one.
I have nothing.
Yeah, I know.
Right,
we're just not in that arena yet.
I have nothing good to add.
Well, I do have some comments.
Oh yeah,
so
that'd be great.
I can look at those.
Perfect.
Okay, so Teresa says our school in Randolph County is doing combo half school and half remote. It's going to be an interesting start. Debbie says, yes, the school year will be different and interesting. That seems like a popular word. She said prayers for all. Linda says, I pray for all of our children, great-grandchildren, and let's see. I know that there was one more that I wanted to mention if I can find it. Debbie said, my husband started back to school today, teacher in Alamance County. Big change for us. Oh, and Nadine said, I still don't know what to do. My son is starting middle school and I have to go to work. So I think that Nadine is probably not alone in this. A lot of parents still trying to figure out what's going to happen. I've noticed that on Facebook, some parents have said that they're just going to completely switch to homeschooling and changing their careers because of it. So it's a tough decision. I'm glad that I'm not in the position that I have to make that call right now. I don't have a family to worry about as far as kids go. So I like we've been saying all along, don't envy the ones that have to make these decisions, but just stay positive. That's my only advice. We're all going to get through this. We are all going through this together. Parents across the nation are dealing with the same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think that's great advice and a great way to end this segment. I mean, obviously, you know, parents in this situation have had weeks of just kind of stress and trying to figure it all out. So we certainly sympathize with you as the clock clicks down. School starts Monday. All right, well, what will the forecast be for kids as they try to soak in that last few days of freedom before school?
last few days of freedom. I love that. As we check our 7-day forecast, storm chance fairly low today, 30% chance, but the trend will be for the storm chance to be on the increase beginning as early as tomorrow. 50% chance, that'll be the case on Thursday, and up to a 60% chance on Friday, back to a 50% chance over the weekend. Now, that doesn't mean your weekend's going to be a washout. That means that you'll have to deal with some of those afternoon storms. And the extra cloud that we expect over the next several days will keep temperatures, for the most part, in the upper 80s and maybe even some mid-80s by Friday and the weekend, but the humidity is going to be around, so I'm not so sure you're going to feel a big difference in terms of the comfort level.
Well, before you go, check this out. It's National Son and Daughter Day, so go ahead, grab your phones. They should already be in your hand, and go ahead and start typing away. Send us photos and a text to 336-379-5775. Maybe a funny story or photos of your kids. Doesn't matter if they're big or small, we want to see them. So we have Mother's Day and Father's Day. Why not add in a Kids Day, right? The earliest record of this day was back in 1988 in Canada. We want to see those photos of your sons and daughters. Text them to us, put their names, and tell us why you love them, or maybe a funny story. We know you have them, especially from spending a lot of time at home during this pandemic. That number again, 336-379-5775. And of course, we can't celebrate this day without showing the GMS kids, right? I think Ed, Turan, and I can just adopt these three for the day and say National Son and Daughters Day. This is Josiah, Simone, and Christian.
Yeah, I had to jump in the picture because they won't be still unless I'm holding them, like restraining them. But Megan, Christian is getting so big. He's the perfect combination of you and your husband, Trevor. So cute.
Thank you. And I can say the same for your kids. They're absolutely adorable. I can't wait till there comes a time when they can all play together once this pandemic has ended and there's a vaccine. And this has just been quite a year. So thank you. We are so blessed to have him. And I would really love to see the pictures from our viewers of their cutie pies as well as we celebrate all sons and daughters everywhere.
Yeah, and of course, we're all sons or daughters. So happy Son or Daughter's Day to you. Let me know if your parents send you anything. I have a feeling mine won't. All right, that's going to do it for us today on After GMS. We certainly appreciate you joining us and corresponding and, getting in on these conversations. We'll have a few more for you tomorrow. Take care, everybody, and stay safe.